No, I just thought the joke was distasteful and unfortunate. And I think, just the way women are represented, it's a great teaching point to really shine light on how women should be championed for their amazing feats. And now I have to sort of sit, and anybody has to sit in front of you and explain someone else's behavior. It's not my responsibility. So
let that sink in. A man wins gold for his country, and now random women on the internet are lining up to explain his behavior back to him. He didn't ask. Nobody asked. The audacity to demand accountability from champions who just made history is peak victim energy.
President Trump called the U.S. men's hockey team after they won the gold medal yesterday. And if you have not listened to this phone call, go find it somewhere, because this is one of the funniest 2.5 minutes in recent memory. This guy just called so he could hear the hockey team laugh. He didn't. He said congratulations, but then he just told jokes. It is hilarious. They were laughing. Everybody's laughing. It's a good time when the president calls you after you win a gold medal.
Hi, this message is for the U.S. men's hockey team from a hockey fan married to a lifelong player raising a son in travel hockey. No one is surprised that FBI Director Kash Patel showed up in your locker room after your big win. Congratulations, by the way. And of course, no one is surprised that Donald Trump called you and made a joke at the expense of the gold medal winning U.S. women's hockey team. Are we sad that those two represent the type of men leading our country? Ew, of course. But are we surprised by their behavior? Of course not, because we already knew exactly what kind of men they are.
She already decided who these men are before she even finished the sentence. That's not analysis. That's a verdict with no trial. These guys trained every single day for years, sacrificed their bodies, and won gold. And the takeaway is, we already knew they were bad men. Incredible, truly incredible logic right there.
But we're disappointed in you. You chose to let Kash Patel in and chugged a bunch of beers with him instead of distancing yourself. You took the president's phone call and then laughed about the joke about inviting the women. The women, as in the most dominant program in U.S. hockey history. Yeah, the U.S. women have won 3 gold medals, and so have you. In fact, they've medaled in every single Olympics since women's hockey was introduced in 1998. So yeah, they have as many gold medals as you do, but they've actually done it in a quarter of the time. So historically, they're the most consistent and dominant program of the two. And yet somehow, you get the majority of the headlines. You get the spotlight and the cultural relevance and the lucrative brand deals. Imagine joking about the team that set the fucking standard. Is that insecurity? Or are you just so used to centering yourselves you didn't even clock in? Now I'm speaking directly to Jack and Quinn Hughes. Your mother is Ellen Weinberg Hughes. As you know, she's a silver medalist and also a former U.S. women's national team hockey player. Presumably, she's a woman who's been fighting gender inequity her entire life. She's also a woman who coached the very U.S. women's national hockey program that you laughed at. Your own mother.
And there it is, the mother card, played at lightning speed. Newsflash. Having a mother doesn't mean you owe the internet a public apology every time you laugh at a joke on a phone call. Every single man alive has a mother. That argument could cancel literally anyone for anything. Think before you speak.
How many of you have mothers, daughters? Do you know that there are little girls in the stands at every game wearing your name on their jerseys? Because that's who you're laughing at. We don't call it men's hockey. We just call it hockey. And that's because women had to fight to even be allowed in the room that you inherited. Y'all had a moment to elevate the culture, to show the next generation, including my son, that hockey can be better than the stereotype. Instead, you co-signed that.
So just as we're celebrating the U.S. men's hockey team winning gold at the Winter Olympics, this big moment, everybody was watching, 8 a.m., a victory that's supposed to bring the country together. They have the ever-living nerve to get on the phone with Donald Trump and laugh about inviting the women's team to celebrate with them. Like, y'all don't have the same gold medal around y'all neck? Like, y'all didn't win by the same score against the same country? Like, seriously, this is how you want to celebrate your first Olympic gold medal in decades?
First gold in decades, and instead of just letting men enjoy one moment, we're getting a full dissertation about how they celebrated wrong. Wrong energy, wrong laugh, wrong phone call. There is no version of winning where these guys aren't getting dragged by someone online. That alone tells you everything about where we are.
Like, I'm so sick of how this country disrespects and disregards women's sports, especially with the Olympics, which is supposed to be about celebrating the nation as a whole. Do we really need to get into all of the amazing American women who have killed it for us on the Olympic stage? Lindsey Vonn, hello. The women's basketball team, obviously I'm weaving into the Summer Olympics there. Serena and Venus, 4 gold medals each. Allison Felix, the most decorated track Olympian in history, men or women. That is such a nasty way to treat your colleagues, your peers in the same sport who won the same medal as you. So you know what? Go ahead, enjoy your victory with that side, because clearly that's what you want to do. The rest of us will be over here celebrating the women.
Okay, so as an American born who is now living in Canada, when I was watching the Olympic hockey, I found myself rooting for the US women's team, but that I was rooting for the Canadian men's team. And I had some friends ask me, like, why, isn't it the same for both? And to be honest, at the time, I couldn't quite put my finger on why. But I now just feel so much more cemented in my decision to want to root for the Canadian men after this whole video has come out of the US men's team on the phone with Trump laughing about inviting the women's team. Like, there are so many icons on the American women's team, and it's just like the disrespect and like, I don't know, the like fragile masculinity. I don't know, so annoying. So overall, congrats to the US women. Love them, and no comment on the men, I guess.
She rooted against her own country's men's team and is now explaining why that makes total sense. The mental gymnastics needed to justify that take should be its own Olympic event, honestly. Fragile masculinity, she says, while being personally offended by a laugh on a phone call she wasn't even on.
Okay, I need to get going with my day, but one last thing that I'm going to say for now about the men's USA hockey team. Who was the person who released it? Do we know? Like, because he's holding the phone, my friend Emily pointed this out to me. It sounds like when Donald Trump says, and we need to invite the women, and he says, absolutely, like, yes, hell yeah, we got to invite these women. And it sounds like he's the one who's holding the phone. Who is this player? Number one, who's the person who released it? And number two, is it the same person who said absolutely? If not, who is the person who said absolutely? Because that man, thank you. Like, thank you for standing up when, I mean, he does say absolutely and then the whole team laughs, but like the fact that he was so quick to be like, yes, we do need to invite our women who have also won gold. Who is this guy? We like this guy.
The worst part about that video of the U.S. men's hockey team at the Olympics laughing at Trump's joke about the U.S. women's hockey team was that so many of those men, their mothers probably sacrificed countless days, countless weekends, possibly one could argue even their careers to make sure that their sons had such a successful hockey career that they could one day make it to the Olympics and be at the top of their game in their sport. And they're laughing. They are laughing at the expense of women. That's just the most heartbreaking part about it for me. Not even that like they won whatever. Like, yeah, shocking, white men are MAGA. Oh my God. Oh, breaking news. But that they are laughing about women when it's because of women or a woman, their mother, that they're even there in the first place.
So now winning gold isn't enough unless you trace every achievement back to the women who were nearby during the journey. By that logic, your barber, your Uber driver, and your third grade teacher all deserve a medal too. At some point, the achievement belongs to the person who actually did the work, period.
The U.S. men's hockey team has had to turn off their comments and is under fire after winning the gold medal. As they were celebrating in the locker room, the FBI Director Kash Patel, who is super evil, was there for some reason, and he gets Trump on the phone, who is congratulating them. He's like, oh my God, you guys need to come to my State of the Union, get back to DC, we'll fly you on a military plane, I love you. He will also have to invite the women's hockey team, otherwise he will get impeached. And what are all of these men doing but laughing the whole time at the women's team, who has also won a gold medal? It was actually insane, and it just really reminds you that misogyny is performed for other men, to people saying, oh, they were just kind of caught up in the moment, like what were they supposed to do? At the very least, they were supposed to not laugh. And obviously the women's hockey team has declined the invitation to go to the White House because we knew they would be on the right side of history here.
This message is for the men's U.S. hockey team. You don't have to go. The women aren't going. And after the way he disrespected them, I wouldn't go either.
I tell you, we're going to have to bring the women's team. You do know that.
So ask yourselves, are you going to go pander to a man who's got a 65% disapproval rating for a tinfoil medal? Or are you going to win America's hearts and stand up for your ladies? Millions of us are boycotting the State of the Union because we know all Donald Trump is going to do is get up there and gaslight us and lie to the American people. What side of history do you want your team to be on?
She started talking about a hockey phone call and somehow landed on impeachment, Title IX, the State of the Union, and a full boycott campaign. That's not commentary. That's a woman who needed to vent and found a vehicle. Gold medalists just became props in somebody else's political breakdown. Crazy.
I think at the end of the day, it's just about the country and the moment that these players, both the men and women, can bring so much unity to a group and to a country. People that cheered on that don't watch hockey, people that have politics on one side or on the other side. And that's all both the men's team and the women's team care about. If you could see what we see from the inside and the men and women sharing, dorm rooms and halls and flex floors and the camaraderie and the synergy and the way the women cheered on the men and the way the men cheered on the women. Yeah. That's what it's all about. And the other things they cannot control. They care about humanity. They care about unity and they care about the country. I hope everybody just understands, what we did in the moment, both the men and the women, to bring this country together and let everybody cheer in the same direction.
This whole men's and women's U.S. hockey controversy is so layered.
To bring the women's team, you do know that.
Absolutely. Missed it. Both the women's and the men's U.S. hockey team won gold at the Olympics. And after the men's team won, Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, is celebrating with them. All on the phone with Trump's like, well, you gotta come over to the White House. We gotta celebrate. Everyone says yes. In the same conversation, he's like, FYI, I also gotta invite the girls. Suddenly, laughter everywhere. This is the funny part to me personally. Women's hockey was added to the Olympics Games in 1998. Since then, the women's U.S. hockey team has medaled every single Olympic game. They have more gold medals than the men do. They have more silver medals than the men do, and they have more bronze medals than the men do. He declined Donald Trump's invite, and I thought the Obamas were gonna invite them over for dinner or something, but turns out Flavor Flav, longtime supporter of women's sports, actually invited them for a proper celebration, and they accepted. Since all of this began as a form of covering their arse, NHL started posting videos of the guys who are girl dads, but I don't think it's working. Here's another part that's funny. 60% of the U.S. gold medals were won by women. 60% of the overall U.S. medals were won by women. Since this has happened, the men players who laughed in that moment haven't gone on to apologize. They have instead turned around and said, God, why does everything have to be political? This is the men's first gold medal since the 80s. Like, this is a really big deal. You should be celebrating. That's a huge accomplishment. But you shouldn't be celebrating at the expense of women, especially women who have won 3 gold medals since 1998. Seems a little silly.
Nobody is erasing the women's team. Nobody said they didn't win. Nobody said they don't matter. A joke was made on a celebratory phone call, and now it's a national crisis. This is what happens when outrage becomes the personality. Everything becomes evidence. Every laugh becomes a hate crime. Exhausting to watch.
I must tell you, we're going to have to bring the women's team. You do know that.
Absolutely.
I do believe I probably would be impeached.
The men's U.S. hockey team won their first gold medal since 1980, and they still have the nerve to downplay women's achievements. How many gold medals has the women's team won since 1980? 3. Understandably, they declined Trump's invitation to the White House after that exchange went viral. The right claims to support women in sports, but moments like this show they really are just pretending to care about women to target trans people. We know this because Republicans have spent the last 50 years weakening Title IX, the 1972 law that banned sex discrimination in federally funded education programs. Title IX is the reason why now U.S. women have more gold medals and medals overall than men, because it dramatically expanded sports opportunities for them. Before it was enacted, women athletes accounted for just 1 to 2% of college budgets in federally funded schools, and less than 16% of athletes. Now, both those numbers are around 44%. But since Trump first entered office, the GOP has rescinded proportional pay rules for athletes' name, image, and likeness, leaving them with 90% of NIL payouts, while also cutting funds to schools that allow trans women in women's sports, risking women's scholarships and team funding. Plus, the GOP has narrowed harassment definitions, meaning less accountability for men. Tell me how the right cares about protecting women in sports again.
Just seeing the footage of Trump congratulating the U.S. men's hockey team on their win and how the team collectively responded to said phone call. I'm really happy that my Swiftie Stan series only included hockey players from Canada, Switzerland, and the U.S. women's hockey team, but I did not feature any of the U.S. men's hockey players. I don't know that I realized that this was coming, but I feel kind of justified in that decision. And yeah, sure, part of me was happy to see the U.S. win the gold medal. It was a great game. The goalie in particular for the U.S. stood on his head and earned the medal for the entire team. But I kind of worried something like this was going to happen, and part of me was really hoping that we'd see a Swiftie like Connor McDavid and standing at the top of the podium, so we would be spared the Kash Patel in the locker room and Trump on the phone belittling the women's hockey team while the members of the men's hockey team laughed along and were excited to go to the State of the Union.
We have some news right now. We're getting more information about Women's Team USA and Men's Team USA response to President Donald Trump and the White House. First, according to the Hockey News and Ian Kennedy, despite Trump saying that U.S. women's hockey will be visiting the White House in a State of the Union address, members of Team USA confirmed that they had heard nothing about it. In addition, Team USA women's hockey captain Hillary Knight went on ESPN today, called Donald Trump's remark about feeling obligated to invite the women's team to the White House or else he'd be impeached a, quote, distasteful joke. U.S. men's hockey goalie Jeremy Swayman said that the team, quote, should have reacted differently to Donald Trump's post-game joke of sorts. He then went on to stress strong support for the U.S. women's team.
The goalie came out, apologized sincerely, praised the women's team publicly, and still, it wasn't enough. That right there is the whole lesson. Some people are not looking for accountability. They are addicted to the grievance itself. When the apology doesn't satisfy you, you were never actually looking for one.
And this so-called joke was Donald Trump saying that essentially he would be impeached. He felt obligated he would have to invite the women's hockey team as well. And he's been called out because it is a misogynistic comment. And yet here we are. I'll have more updates for you soon. Spread the word. Follow for more.